Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Today, we're heading back to Exodus.
Okay.
Exodus chapter 27, to be precise.
All right.
Now, when you hear Exodus 27,
Yeah.
you might be thinking building instructions for the tabernacle.
Right.
Sounds kind of dry,
A
right?
little bit. Yeah.
But I think you're going to be surprised
Okay.
because these details are really fascinating. They give us like a glimpse
Oh, interesting.
into how the Israelites
Yeah.
lived out their faith.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking about the altar, the courtyard,
Right.
even the lampstand.
Interesting.
And we'll explore
Right.
what these things can teach us
Okay. Yeah.
about creating sacred spaces and practices in our own lives.
I like it.
So,
It is fascinating
Uh-huh.
how these seemingly like mundane instructions
oh, hey.
reveal these deeper spiritual principles. Like, take the altar, for example.
Okay, yeah.
It wasn't just a place to offer sacrifices.
Yeah.
You know, it was built with acacia wood overlaid with bronze.
Oh, wow.
And it has very specific dimensions.
Okay.
And even these horns.
Okay, the horns.
Yeah.
I was wondering about those.
Yeah.
What's the deal with the horns?
Well, the text doesn't explicitly say,
Okay.
but horns in the ancient world often symbolize strength and power.
Oh, interesting.
Think about, like, Moses descending from Mount Sinai
Right,
with
yeah.
horns.
Yeah.
It's this idea of divine power radiating outward.
Okay.
So maybe those horns on the altar
Mm-hmm.
represent God's presence during the sacrifice, or even the strength of the Israelites' commitment to their faith.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a visual reminder
Right.
that this is serious business.
Exactly.
This connection with the divine.
Yeah, it's not just about, like, throwing a quick offering on a fire.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about an intentional act of dedication.
Mm.
And that brings us to the courtyard.
Okay.
This wasn't just a place to hang out.
Yeah.
It was carefully constructed
Okay.
with fine linen hangings, pillars, bronze sockets.
Wow. The details?
All these details point to the intentionality
Right.
of creating a sacred space.
Yeah. So it's like setting a boundary
Right.
between the everyday world
Exactly.
and this space dedicated to something greater.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious, was this a concept
Oh, good question.
unique to the Israelites?
Not at all. Many ancient cultures
Oh.
had designated spaces
Right.
for religious rituals separated from the mundane.
Okay.
This separation helped foster a sense of awe and reverence,
Right.
creating an environment where
Yeah.
people could connect
Mm-hmm.
with the divine
Okay.
on a deeper level.
So are you saying that idea is still relevant today?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
I mean, think about it. Like,
Yeah.
when you walk into a beautiful cathedral or even create a quiet corner in your home for meditation,
Right. Okay.
you're setting that space apart for a specific purpose.
Right.
You're creating that sense of intentionality.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Now, there's another element
Okay.
in Exodus 27
Mm-hmm.
that might seem a bit random at first,
Okay.
but it ties into this whole idea of
Yep.
sacred space
Right.
and practice.
Oh, yeah.
The instructions for the lampstand oil.
The lampstand oil.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the lampstand oil.
Yeah.
What's so special about that?
Well, it might seem that way,
Right.
but it's actually a really powerful symbol.
Okay.
The instructions are very specific.
Okay.
It has to be pure beaten olive oil,
Uh-huh.
and it has to be constantly replenished
Right.
to keep the lampstand burning.
Okay.
Now, think about the symbolism of light
Yeah.
in the Bible.
Right.
It often represents God's presence
Oh.
and guidance.
So the lampstand isn't just about lighting up the tabernacle.
Right, exactly.
It's about keeping that connection with God, burning brightly.
Yeah,
And it takes effort.
it does.
It takes consistent action,
Right.
just like tending a fire.
Exactly.
It's not a one-time thing.
Nope.
It's about ongoing dedication and care.
Just like the Israelites had to diligently tend to the lampstand,
Right.
we have to put in the effort
Yeah.
to cultivate our own spiritual awareness,
Okay.
to keep that inner light shining.
Mm.
And, you know, when we connect this idea back to the altar
Okay.
and the courtyard,
Yeah.
a really interesting pattern emerges.
A pattern.
How so? Well, think about it.
Okay.
The altar represents dedication.
Right.
The courtyard represents intentionality.
Yeah.
And the lampstand represents consistency.
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
All these elements work together
Uh-huh.
to create a framework for
Right.
spiritual practice.
And that's something we can apply to our own lives today,
Exactly.
even if we don't have a physical tabernacle to
Don't.
tend to.
It's like Those ancient practices are giving us a blueprint
Okay.
for how to live with intention,
Mm.
how to cultivate a deeper connection with
Right.
whatever we hold sacred.
So how do we take these ancient ideas
Yeah,
and make them relevant to our modern lives?
good question.
It feels like a big leap from bronze altars to,
It does, yeah.
paying bills and checking emails,
Right.
all that.
It might seem like a leap,
Yeah.
but the principles are surprisingly transferable.
Okay.
Let's start with the altar.
Okay.
That idea of dedication.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the areas in your life where you want to grow,
Right.
where you want to make a difference.
Okay.
It could be your relationships,
Wow.
your career, a creative pursuit,
Yeah.
your spiritual practice.
Right.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
it requires that same level of commitment
Okay.
that the Israelites had to their sacrifices.
So it's like creating our own altar
Exactly.
for those things we hold sacred,
Uh-huh.
whether it's literal or metaphorical.
Yeah. It's about showing up consistently,
Mm-hmm.
putting in the effort,
Yep.
making those daily sacrifices of time and energy.
And just like the craftsmanship of the courtyard,
Right.
we can approach those commitments with intentionality.
Okay.
Think about how you structure your time, your environment,
Mm-hmm.
your mindset.
Okay.
Are you creating spaces that support your goals and values?
Mm.
Are you being mindful of the energy you
Mhm.
bring to your work and your relationships?
So it's not just about what we do.
Right.
It's about how we do it.
Exactly.
It's about bringing that sense of mindfulness
Uh-huh.
and purpose to every aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
It's like those fine linen hangings.
Right.
Every detail matters.
And just like that ever-burning lamp,
Right.
it's about consistency.
Okay.
It's about showing up even when we don't feel like it,
Mm-hmm.
even when it's hard.
Yeah.
It's about tending to those commitments, those
Yeah.
relationships,
Uh-huh.
those practices that nourish our souls.
And bring light into the world.
It's like we each have our own inner lampstand.
Yes.
And it's our job to keep it fueled.
Exactly.
And it's not always easy,
Yeah.
but it's so worth it.
It is.
This whole conversation has really given me a new perspective on Exodus 27.
Oh, good.
I never thought about it this way before. Yeah, it really is amazing
Yeah.
how these ancient texts can still speak to us today.
Right.
Like, we're not building a physical tabernacle,
Mm-hmm.
but we're still creating those spaces,
Right.
those practices
Exactly.
in our own lives.
That's what's so powerful about these stories. They
Yeah.
give us this framework
Mm-hmm.
for understanding how to live with intention,
Okay.
how to connect with something greater than ourselves.
And it's not just about religion either.
No, not at all.
It's about finding meaning and purpose
Exactly.
to whatever we do.
So what does this all mean
Well,
for
yeah.
our listeners?
Yeah, what's the takeaway message
Yeah.
from Exodus 27?
Well, it's about recognizing that the spiritual and the practical are intertwined.
Okay.
The way we approach our work, our relationships,
Right.
even our daily routines.
Yeah.
It all matters.
Okay.
It all reflects our values
Uh-huh.
and shapes our experience of the world.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like we're not just building altars and courtyards
right.
out of wood and bronze.
Mm-hmm.
We're building them with our actions,
Yes,
our choices,
exactly.
our commitment to what matters most.
And that brings us to a final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
If you were to build a modern tabernacle
Oh.
to reflect your own values and beliefs,
Ooh,
what would it look like?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
What elements would you include?
What would be your acacia wood and bronze, so to speak?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's an invitation to reflect
Okay.
on what's truly sacred in your life.
Mm-hmm.
What brings you joy?
Yeah.
What gives you a sense of purpose?
Right.
What values do you want to embody in the world? And how can you create space for those things to flourish?
Wow, I'm definitely going to be pondering that question
Yeah,
for a while.
it's a good one.
Thanks for taking us on this incredible deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
It's amazing how much wisdom
Right.
we can find in these ancient texts.
And remember,
Yeah.
even the seemingly mundane details of our lives
Right.
can hold profound meaning
Okay.
if we take the time to look deeper.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.